Alright. Hello, Professor. This is my the beginning of my assignment for Internet Web Tech. This is for homework number 1, starting from section 2.6 to 2.9, 2.14 to 2.16, and 3.6 to 3.11. I'm going to get started with my code. I'm just going to have the code displayed, and then I'll have the code open and running to describe what I'm doing. I made sure I did proper documentation by commenting as I'm going about this. So let's get started. Let's start with this. Alright, so as shown in the textbook in chapter 2, I made sure I did proper documentation, declaring it as a doc type for an HTML, setting language to English, and setting the character encoding. I put the main content within the body, which starts off with a title for my favorite frozen desserts, a heading. What we're going to do is an ordered list to display our list for what we want. We want ice cream with an unordered list of vanilla, chocolate, and cookie dough, a soft serve list of chocolate, vanilla, and caramel banana split, and a list of frozen yogurt with pineapple, peach, and mango. I made sure I put a little glossary so if I come back to it to study, I would understand each and every thing that's going on within my documentation. So let's switch over to how this displays on a web browser. Let me just change the screen. Alrighty, so this is what appears after it starts to run. We got our title, which is heading 1. We have our list, we have our unordered list, and yeah, that's 2.6. Alright, let's go back to our document. Alright, so 2.7, going to have the same type of setup, document, English, character encoding, and we're going to start with the title, an email link with an image. This is going to have my authors, a header that says click on image to send an email. We're going to use image as a link, so we grabbed the image from the email. I saved it as email.jpg just to make it easier to view. I said within a height to the image, and I'm going to have it pop up my email to send the email back and forth to. So let's pop that up on the screen. Alrighty, and as you can see, it's open. If you click on this, it pops up email to send an email, and that's all set with that. I'm not going to send anything right now. Alright, back to the code. So for 2.8, same type of documentation, set the title to my favorite daily deals website. Put a header, heading 1, to the document of my favorite daily deals, so it's at the largest possible font, largest possible header. And then we put Groupon and label it as Groupon, Living Social, Amazon, Retail Me Not, Deal News. I just Googled whatever top daily deal websites were, and I chose the first 5 that showed up on Google. So as we go to it, let's get back to that page. We have Groupon, Living Social, Amazon, Retail Me Not, and Daily Deals, and goes right to the website from the URL. Alright, what we're doing is we're using list items and links to create hyperlinks and attributes for URLs. So that all goes through perfectly fine, and everything works for that. Golden. Alright, back to the code. Alrighty, for section 2.9, we're using the folder that came with chapter 2 to get the examples that are present within the document. So we're using list items with links. So we're using a list to represent each item, and we're using the A to it's the best way I can describe this. We're creating hyperlinks to the documents themselves locally, if that's the best way to describe this. We're creating a specific pathway to get to it. And as we run this code, we have it as, I saved it as example 1 to 15, but I could just change all the names for each and everything. Oh snap. Let me just reopen that. Chapter 2. Alrighty. So it's going into the examples folder, and it's grabbing each of the HTMLs that are present within the folder, as well as any additional information like images or buttons, depending on whatever is within the document. Just making sure the file pathing is correct so everything opens up accurately. Alrighty, and moving on to 2.14. What do we got here? Alright, 2.14, we're doing a table. So we're starting off with making tables in HTML. We're going to use a header. It's going to contain our title for a table body. Jesus. Alright, I'm messing up my words. So we're going to have a title for table example. We're going to have a body with a border of 1 for to circle off the table, surround the table. We're going to have a table body. We're going to have a table row. We're going to have a table data cell. We're going to have a strong heading in the table data cell called objective. We're going to have an unordered list with list examples to copy what was inside the textbook for how it was displayed, for the text that was displayed in it. Close the unordered list. We're going to have a quote. Yeah, from my memory, I'll wipe the trivial record by William Shakespeare. We're going to close that paragraph. And we're going to close that table data cell. All right, we're gonna have first cell with the image of the camel from where it's located in the examples folder, and we're going to close it off, and that's what's going to display. The image is going to display from the example provided by the textbook. So we're going to switch back to that on the window. Alright, and that's what we have. We have a strong header of objectives. We have our lists. We have our quote by William Shakespeare, and we have our image from the textbook for all this. That should be easier to see now. And we're going back to our document. So for 2.15, we have a title, table example. We're going to title it table example. So we're making a table throughout this. We're going to have a paragraph to say, here's a small table. We're going to have a border of 1 for the table. We're going to use term thread as we go through this to make sure that the table is within its context. So we're going to have a table row with table cell inside. We're going to have attributes to set the size of the table to 5. We're going to make it a strong message. It's going to be nice and bold. This is the table's head. And then we're going to go into the table's body. We're going to close that off and go on to the body of the table. So on the table body, we're going to have it at a span of 2, and this will be labeled as the table's body. And we're going to have a table footer, which is going to have a width of 70 for the first part of the footer, and this is a table, and then a table width of 30 continuing onto it of 30%, which is going to be the foot of the table. So as we can see how this comes out, it comes out like this with the table. Here's an example of a table. We made the table with a border of 1, and this is the table's head, this is the table's body, this is the table, and this is the table's foot. This is the 70%, this is the 30%. This is the display of how it's spaced out. Okay, so moving on to 2.16. Going to get to that section. Alright, so 2.16, this is one of the longer documents that had to be done. This is a college visit form. We're going to title it college visit form, put a header. The form is going to have display for a name. It's going to have display for an address. It's going to have a display for an email. It's going to take user input to put in the each individual thing. So it's going to take input for the name. It's going to take input for the address, and then it's going to take input for the email. And then it's going to have a we're going to use these would all be considered form inputs. So a form input would be taken in from the user to address whatever would be as part of the form. Alright, and then we're going to have we're going to use a checkbox to check off each specific thing that a student would want from the campus. So we're going to have an input type checkbox, an ID for the campus, and it's going to be for the specific thing that they are interested in as part of the what they like most about the campus. And then we're going to do, this is just practice for doing checkboxes, all this. Then we're going to do a input for radio buttons. It's similar to how it was, it's for the most part similar to how it was done in C# for making radio buttons, making checkboxes. It's just slightly different, just different language. So pretty much the same thing. It just depends on how it's written out. And then we're going to leave a label for comments, and then an area to put the comments into, and made pretty small, so it's not going to be too bad. And then we're going to have a submit button for submitting this form, to a source. Nothing is set up towards that. Not really. I didn't really add anything to that. I could have sent it as an email from what we did prior in section 2.7, but no real cause to. So let's look at the how the document comes out. So this is the college visit form. You can type in whatever you want for it. What do you like most about your campus? You can check as many things as you want. How do you find out about college? By friends. And submit. Then it would submit to wherever you would want it to desire to go. Alright, now we're going to move on to the next part, which is chapter 3. So moving on, chapter 3.6. Alright, what were we doing? We were doing a web registration form. Alright, title, header, name for context, header, registration form. Alright, we're going to create the form. We're going to have the label for first name, input for first name, label for last name, input for last name, label for email, input for email, and then we're going to do a detailed summary. So we're going to have a optional survey questions. We're going to have a label for what year in college you are. We're going to have a selection for that. We're going to have some, options for freshman, junior, sophomore, senior. And then we're going to have a button to submit and then a button to reset, similar to how we did in chapter 2, number 16. But this one's going to be just slightly different. I'm going to open it up on the screen and show you. Here it is. So first name, Jimmy. Email, and then the optional survey questions. What year in college you are. I would be a senior, so I'd submit that. or if I make a mistake somewhere, I can just reset the form, resets it back. So just for as a registration form, this is basic setup for it. And moving on to 3.7. Change the window. Alright, so 3.7, we are doing a search form, so a basic search. We're going to have a form for the elements of the search. We're going to have it's going to search the form for whatever is searched in, like typing in a name. So it's going to be labeled in this at the first first part of it. We're going to use the method post with autocomplete on for submitting search queries, and the method should be searched from post. We're going to have a hidden input field. So the name subject would be hidden. Can I best describe this? I'm bad at describing what is done. It's creating a field in the form, and it's creating the form itself to submit the data. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. So we'll label our search with search input. We'll have a search bar and a placeholder for entering whatever searched for, what's searched on the form. And then we'll have a submit button and a reset button. So let's pull that up. Describing it is not my greatest forte. I just know how to say what's going on as it's going. Best way I can put it. So I have input for search, submit, and clear. So if anything was on the page that we would want to be searching for, like say that there was a name on the page, we would be able to search the name, and then we would be able to find where that name is on the form itself. It would be on the form. All right. So moving on to 3.8. Screens. There we go. 3.8. We have a autocomplete form with data lists. So what we're doing here is we're going to have something similar to a checkbox with the days of the week to check what day it is. So we're going to have it create a form. We're going to have a label for days and days of the week. And then we're going to have an input for what day it is. We're going to use the data list options, which is going to be our list box, or what would be the equivalent of what this would be. It would be it would give a selection of Sunday to Saturday on a drop down box, and then we could select what day it is using the ID days, going to it, and then days would be called for days of the week. And then we would select what day it is that's going to appear inside of the box before we select anything. And then we'll have a submit button, and then we'll have a reset button or a clear button to change this. So let's go to the code itself and see what goes on. We're going to open it up, and then we're going to have selection for Sunday to Saturday. Say it's Tuesday, submit, or say it's Wednesday, but it's not Wednesday. I want to clear it. Clear. Let's select the day. We have days of the week. Alrighty, and that's it for 3.8. 3.9, we have a text document in the examples for 3.9. In 3.9, we have to copy over what's written in the paragraphs. So let me pull that up. Alrighty, so and it's labeled as section 3.2.1 in the book. We're going to have a section for color input types, which it describes in the book. In that section, we're not going to display what is inside the folder yet. That's going to be for 3.10, 3.11. I'm going to actually close some of these so we have an easier view of what we're doing. We're going to have a autofocus attribute, which is applied in this. We're going to have a validation. We're also going to have a form that that we can use with the submit button to check for validating services and elements, see if the data is correct. So when we run this, what we get is the text of this document for input type color, autofocus attribute, and validation. So each of these is going to have its own type of example in the coming parts. For 3.9, it just said to set this up how it is. I guess it's walking through the setup and changing it as we're going. For 3.10, screen 1. For 3.10, it's the same thing, except we're using a figure to find the image locally. This is where I have it saved. And then it's going to have color input, and then we're going to caption this off for what is labeled. So what we're using a figure for each section to give a visual example, and a fig caption to capture each image. So this one's going to have the opera color input. This one's going to have the autofocus for Chrome, and then this one is going to have the self-validation for Chrome, which validates color input. So let's see how this runs. Gonna move over to that. This is stuff that was provided in the textbook. So this is figure 3.2 with the Opera color picker controls. This one I use more often because I use Opera as my main browser. This one's for Chrome. And this one is also for Chrome for validating color input. So this is checking it to make sure that the data is correct. If it's not, it'll give an error message. Alright, now moving on to 3.11. 3.11, we make our what's it called? We make our am I displaying the right screen? Yes, I am. Awesome. Wait, does that mean it didn't display 3.10? Hope I did. Alright, so 3.11, we are displaying our table. So we're going about same exact stuff, the input, color type, color picker controls, and all this. And then we're creating a table the exact same way as a figure. Similar to the figure that's presented in the chapter at figure 3.5. This is how it's set up in figure 3.5, so we're going to set it up the exact same way. And then we're just going to use the table elements to section this off in the correct way. So this is exactly how it's set up in the textbook. And okay, so I could just display the whole screen. That's good to know. This will be good for future homeworks to know. Alright, so it's set up the exact same way as in 3.9, 3.10, with all the additional information and stuff. And here's the figure of the table that was displayed in the textbook. This is how they have it set up. So the input type and format, and how it formats itself when we use it. Alright, and that's my assignments for all my section assignments for homework number 1. If there's anything else that's needed,